On this episode of My Next Move, we dive deep into the art and beauty of the stock market, whether that is long term investing, dividend investing, stock market trading, options trading, or even just the overall risk management in order to keep your money rather than just make money in the market, because keeping money in the market is just as important. So, without further ado, I would love to bring on a good friend of mine, an even better options trader, and a Marine living on the West Coast, Manuel Santiago. Manuel, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for coming on the show. I'm super excited to be talking to you again. It's been a minute since we've connected.
Yeah, it definitely has been a minute. I mean, a lot of things have been happening, but I appreciate. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. You're actually the first virtual conversation I've had, so it took me a while to set up the whole setting scene. So if anything messes up, that's all on me. So I'm sorry about that in advance. But
Hey,
uh,
well, it's an honor to be here. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me on here. Like I said,
yeah,
and the first
absolutely.
one, I'm privileged
Yeah,
and honored.
yeah. Well, so hey, so you're an options trader. You are an ex-marine.
Well, well, yeah. So, right. I mean, there's never a real ex-marine, but I'm still
Oh,
actually
sorry.
active duty. Oh, no, you're good. But I'm actually still active duty right now.
Oh,
So
really?
I've been in the Marine Corps for April. It actually hit 21 years in
Wow.
the Marine Corps. Still active duty. Retirement coming soon. Eventually, I mean, I could feel it coming. Right.
Yeah.
Initially, when I first joined, I'm like, oh, I'll just do 4 years, get out, whatever it might be. But I've been enjoying my time and
Hmm.
been in ever since. So
Yeah, for
we'll
sure.
see how long I'll stay there for.
And you're out in San Diego, correct?
Yeah,
San
that
Diego,
is.
is that where you're? Is that technically so you the options trading is more of like a side hobby, or is that kind of like part time, or how's the day to day look like in the manual life?
Yeah. So the good thing about actually being in California and here on the West Coast is the stock market opens at 6:30 a.m.
Hmm.
Right. So me, I get to base because obviously I live on base. I go to base early in the morning. I work out at 5 o'clock in the morning to like 6,
Uh huh.
and then I shower, get dressed, and then I'm at my computer, my workstation by 6:30.
Hmm.
Right
Okay.
when the market's open. So all my prep and everything has to be done the night prior. I kind of check it throughout my workout and see different levels and see how things fluctuate and change.
Hmm.
But then I'm basically at work trading,
Hmm.
right, for the first like hour and a half, 2 hours of the stock market till official work starts.
Yeah.
And then I come right back on towards power hour, which is my lunchtime,
Hmm.
right? So it
So
actually works out not bad.
yeah,
So
that's perfect. I was actually going to ask you, what is it like to be done with the market at what 1:30 over there, right? Yeah, 1:30, right? Or no,
yeah, it
one.
closes
It's
at
one.
1.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that makes
closes at
sense.
1.
Three and a half hours. My bad. But okay, so that's like a perfect lineup for waking up. You get to take advantage of the volatility in the morning, the volatility at night, or at close. So are you more of like an intraday trader, a swing trader, a long term trader, investor? How does your strategy usually play out?
Yeah, so great. So my personal strategy is I think I'm a long-term dividend type of investor,
Okay.
right? But to funnel that account and to fund that account, I use options, right? So
Wow.
whether I'm day trading options or swing trading options,
Hmm.
um, I use that, take those profits, and then fund my long-term positions and grow my passive income through dividends, right?
Yeah, I
And
love
continue to
that.
fund that through my daily trades.
Yeah, I love that, man. I feel like so many people are in the trading space, and it kind of seems like a lot of people in there are kind of gambling and think that that's supposed to be your full-time day job. When
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell people that for so long, it's like trading is a vehicle to make short-term cash to fund these long-term investments, whether that's dividends or real estate or even a different business that you're building. It can really just become like a tool, and it doesn't have to be a full-time thing, because when you're a full-time trader, you really, I mean, the longer you do it, the less is more. Like less trades, less time on the screens, I don't know, just like the fact that you can make a good amount of money in a short term, whether it's day trading, scalping, just a little swing trade. You just kind of have to learn the technical analysis, chart setups, and economy to take advantage of those moves. But I love what you're saying, that you're funneling those into dividend stocks that are going to pay you forever, right? So it becomes your passive income through your active income as well too. So That's really great that you hit on that point because I always try to preach that, but it's hard to hammer that in some people's heads, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Because one of the things, especially as like a newer trader, before I actually started establishing this strategy, is
Hmm.
you continue to get. It's not about how much money you make, but it's really about how much money you keep.
Yeah.
And the thing about it with your options account, you potentially can grow it to be pretty substantial,
Yeah.
but then also your trades become a higher risk, right?
Hmm.
And you have one bad day, two bad days because it happens to everybody,
Hmm.
and then you give a lot of it back.
Yeah.
So I have a set mind where, okay, if I make this amount, I'm good with my account being XYZ, right? 25,000, 50,000, however much it might be to day trade. And then after I get past that level, then I'm putting it into my other account, right? Whether it be 100% of those profits going towards dividends or 50% going there, 30% going there, 20% going into another account to
Yeah.
maybe do real estate and so forth, right? It's all about how much money can you keep. And by doing that, a long-term potential, long-term plays is always safer,
Of
right?
course.
Than options. But options definitely you can make a lot of money in options in a short amount of time. That's the opportunity and that's the benefits of trading options, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you just have to learn how to basically reuse those funds and reallocate those funds, and that's what I'm been trying to do.
Yeah.
It took me a while to actually establish that, but
Yeah.
so far it's been pretty good.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And options are not an easy game, so it takes, I feel like,
No,
everybody to that's I feel like that's why a lot of people are scared to come into space to learn it because it's really overwhelming at first, but there's so much great value, so much great content out there that you produce on social media, or there's so many different people that provide the free value out there, whether it's on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. And I think that people are so scared of it, but if they just kind of take advantage of all these free tools and free educators out there, could really kind of like build this foundation for them to be like, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe this isn't as hard as I thought. And you said a really interesting point. It's really important to keep the money, right?
yeah.
So I always talk about risk management, stop losses are your best friend. So can you walk us through a little bit about what you do to keep that money? Is there like some risk management strategies that you use, or tell us a
Yeah,
little bit about that?
yeah, absolutely, right. So whenever I'm day trading, obviously if I jump in a option position, a day trade, scalp trade, whatever it might be, my normal profit target is going to be 10 to 20%, right?
Okay.
So if I'm averaging 10 to 20%, at least my stop loss is going to be 5 to 10%, right? So obviously, with per option contract, if it's a dollar premium, I'm
Hmm.
stopping out at 90 cents,
Yeah.
right? Just to obviously keep it a minimum 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio.
Hmm.
And I found out if long as I could do that and I'm correct 50% of the time, I'm still going to be profitable, right?
Exactly.
So it's always about mitigating your risk,
Uh-huh.
constantly cutting your losses small, right? Because it used to happen a lot to me too, right? So I'll be successful 4 out of 5 trades, but that
Yep.
1/5 trade wipes out all of the profits plus
Yes.
some more of my actual account, right?
Uh-huh.
So just because I won, I'm 80%
Yeah.
win rate, but then that 20% loss takes out
Wipes out the
80%
account.
of my account. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you could counterbalance that and actually understand that the risk to reward ratios and
Always.
keep your plan and be disciplined enough in that plan, it could be very substantial and very rewarding.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I literally, you're taking all the words right out of my mouth because the risk management thing is key, and the 2 to 1 ratio is just, it's just a beautiful concept because if you think about it, like
Yeah.
the law of numbers, and it's just basically the stock market is a doubles game, right? So if you're keeping your
Mhm.
loss a lot smaller, like you're saying 5, 10%, are you when you say 5, 10%, is this more of like an options on scalp trading? Are you doing that because sometimes if it's like longer term or swing trades, you can kind of, whether it's like let's say it's like a $200 contract, could go down to like 160 ish, while it's just kind of like figuring it out. So are you more of like trying to time it almost perfectly with how the stock is setting up, whether it's like a 5 minute chart, you trying to get right in there for that reversal trade? Is that kind of the strategy there?
Yeah, so it really depends, right? So that's 5 to 10% more so on scalp trade or day trade,
Okay, yeah.
right? It's when I'm day trading or even swing trading, right? I'm a little bit more patient because I let the trade to develop. So I buy myself time with
Hmm.
options, right? Or even sell. I also do a lot of selling contracts, right? I give myself time with the actual expiration dates. But
Yeah.
whenever I'm dealing with 0 days expiration, right, or 1 to 2 days expiration, weekly contracts, I keep my stop loss even tighter and smaller because
Mhm.
the volatility, and you don't have the time for it to really recover. So
Yeah, for sure. And so when you said before that you were kind of taking a couple losses every now and then before you really refined a strategy to become more profitable
mhm.
consistently. Can you walk through that? Because I feel like a lot of people in 2020, 2021 kind of got wiped or destroyed or like were just buying call options and they were just making a ton of money until they weren't, right? Because the big
Yeah,
reset that happened in the stock market, some of the individual stocks got destroyed. So for somebody that was a part of options trading trying and they just aren't succeeding, what are some of your advice that you like, some of the steps that you took that, okay, I'm getting stopped out too much or I'm wiping my account after 4 or 5 wins, because that can be kind of like, degrading, and it kind of just makes you not want to continue to learn this, because at that point it's like exhausting. So is there anything that you kind of did there? Is there any advice that you had to like kind of get out of that headspace? Because I feel like that's like something that could be really, really tough for you on the mental if you're continually losing or not getting to where you want to be.
yeah, absolutely, right. It's mentally draining, right,
Hmm.
and frustrating, especially because the only thing that stopped it from being profitable is myself,
Hmm.
right. And I think one big key thing that a lot of people don't do that should do is journal their trades, because I didn't really understand that whole process of a stopping out here when my initial plan said to stop out here. It
Hmm.
could have saved me this amount of much money, right? So, and then once you journal your trades and every week you review all your trades, hey, when did I get in? When did I get out? Why did I trade this? It
Yeah.
starts to help really develop your actual plan.
Hmm.
And then once you actually develop that plan, trying to stay disciplined enough to actually stick with it, right? But it took me a while to actually, like I said, to find that strategy, because I started trading, investing. I learned it in 2010 when I was deployed to Afghanistan,
Okay.
right?
Wow.
And then just I was reading the Warren Buffett books and just think long term, right? And I think that's why I still dividends and long term positions that I
Hmm.
constantly think about right now. Is that was the mentality that I had. But then 5 years, 6 years in, that's when I started really trading, learning options. So it
Yeah.
took me a while to, because it was all kind of self taught through books and videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right, it didn't have like a mentor, or there wasn't a lot of influencers and creators on
Okay.
social media to really look up to. Not a lot of communities to find
Hmm.
without paying basically a large chunk of money, right?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
um, so a lot of
Wow.
trial and tribulation, a lot of trial and error, and that's when I finally started to be profitable. But another thing I did besides journaling and trading, journaling my trades, was decrease my actual position, right? To start to learn how to stay consistent with my plan, right? And make sure that my plan actually worked,
Hmm.
right? So if I just had to do one contract at a time, so be it, right? Yeah, you won't get a lot of returns, but I'm looking for the consistency, and I'm looking for the strategy that can work, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that really helped me out when I was taking a lot of losses was, okay, take a step back, look at the whole picture. My plan says to do this, and now let me back test it by decreasing my position size,
Hmm.
right? And my by basically mitigating my risk because I don't have a lot of dollar value inside the position,
Hmm.
and make sure this strategy actually works.
Yeah, of course. And you said that you were learning in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, so I was deployed for like a whole year in 2010, 2011 timeframe,
Uh-huh.
and I had another Marine that worked with me. He was from Florida, and he was actually reservist, but he got called on active duty. But his full time job out in Florida was he was a trader, he
Hmm.
was a broker, he was
Oh
an
wow.
investor. So he started talking to us about it and got me interested. It gave me some books to read, and uh, here I am 12, 13 years later. So
Yeah, that's crazy. So you've seen some pretty big evolutions. Were like was the access to trading easy over there, or were you not able? Were you just learning like in books and like, I guess social media technically kind of in 2010, right?
no, it was still access, right? Because we still have internet, right? So we
The
had internet
brokerage.
access, exactly. So I actually opened up an E Trade account
Okay.
in 2010. So um, So at that time, obviously, day trades and each trades cost money. So when I
Hmm.
first opened up E-Trade account in 2010, I think it was 12.99 per trade.
Whoa,
Um, or yeah, no, 11.99, so $12
wow,
per trade. So obviously, long term investing was
that's
my
crazy.
strategy because I didn't want to continue
Yeah,
trading. I think the cheapest was Ally Bank, and they were like 6.99, right?
wow,
But
that's crazy.
um,
And did you have access to option? Oh, you said you weren't an options trader back then, but were there was that an
yeah,
option on E Trade?
I think it was. I don't really remember back then. I know I still have E-Trade right now. I still have the same account. So
Hmm.
obviously, yes, it is,
Yeah,
right? So back then I wasn't quite sure. And I remember the guy telling me about it. He was like, yeah, wait till you learn about options, right? But I never really, and I remember him telling me like about that, but it took me a good 5, 6 years
yeah.
before I really start to look into it. So
So walk us through what it's like being in Afghanistan trying to trade. Like, what is that like? I feel like there's a lot of discipline and timing there, which kind of might carry over to how your strategy is today with your risk management. What is it like
yeah.
being over there, like time management wise, to be able to study something like that?
So I mean, it actually wasn't too bad because at the time and the position I was in, I was on a major base, right? So in the evenings, obviously reading books,
Yeah.
you do have a lot of downtime to yourself. Obviously, you're not constantly busy
Hmm.
24/7. So in the downtime, it actually gave me the opportunity to do a lot of research, read a lot of books. It wasn't really too many videos I could watch because the internet wasn't that great, right? So, but there was other opportunities. But like I said, he told me at the time back in 2010, he was like Apple, 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 right?
Yeah.
And I
Oh
remember
wow.
looking at Apple at that time. Apple was $45 a share, right,
Hmm.
in 2010. Um, I'm like, okay. I'm like, but and that was its all time high at $45. I'm like, well, $45 is not that bad, but
Yeah.
let me find a penny stock,
Oh
right?
no.
That let me find a penny stock couple cents before it hits $45 a share.
Yeah.
And so I put some money towards some penny stocks. Obviously, that was worthless. I did buy some Nike, bought some Pfizer, right? Because at the time, that's what I knew. I knew Nike,
Yeah.
Pfizer was growing huge because of the little blue pill and so forth, right?
Hmm.
Back then. Um, but yeah, I did a small amount in Apple. But the great thing was Apple in 2014. That's when it did a 7-to-1 split,
Oh wow. Okay.
right? But if I would have went in heavier like I did with some of those penny stocks in Apple and just let it sit, it would have been very, very substantial. But
Yeah. Man,
yeah,
that's
I mean,
good.
like I said, I was just thinking about buying and holding, right?
Hmm.
I did do some research on some IPOs that was coming out in 2010. There was two companies that was coming out in the same week, uh, and I think it was like around September, July, 2010. Um, the first company was called Real ID.
Hmm.
I even remember the ticker RLD because that was one of my very first big purchases.
Yeah.
And I was going to invest in one of the two companies, and both of them were IPOing around $17, $18 a share,
Hmm.
right? Now, Real ID was on the patent to all these 3D companies, right? All these 3D screens.
Okay.
And in 2010, that was a big thing. All the movies and
Yeah.
TVs were all coming out in 3D.
Hmm.
Um, and it did well. So it opened at $18. I bought $1,000 worth, right?
Okay.
Um, and it ran 22, 24, 26. A couple years later, it was like 2 years later, it's $36,
Oh wow. That's good.
100%, 100%. But once again, I didn't know anything about taking profits
Oh no.
and technical analysis or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, hey, this is a great investment, long term.
Forever.
This is going to be money. I started backtracking 28, 26, 20, 18, 10, 9, 8.
Wow.
I'm
Damn.
like,
Just
damn.
gone.
It, so it finally bounced around 10, 11. Then one day it bounced up to 14. I sold
Yeah, for a
for a
loss.
loss, right? But the other company that IPO that same week at 17, $18 was Tesla.
Oh my god. Man,
So I,
that's a slap in the face.
well, that's the thing though, right? Because I was correct initially.
Hmm.
right, with Real ID because it doubled.
Yeah.
Why Tesla played around for about 5, 6 years,
Yeah.
around 18 or 40, 50, because nobody thought EV was going to be huge, right?
Yeah. That's
Uh,
crazy.
and so forth. And it took a while for the production
Hmm.
and for Tesla to really develop. But if I knew technical analysis, if I knew and had some type of mentorship,
Yeah.
um, then I could have like, okay, hey, I doubled. I could have just at least even sold half if I thought it was, and then reinvested that back into Tesla because Tesla went the other way, right? It went 17, 20, 15,
Well,
14,
yeah.
and bounced around, right?
So
So,
at that time, you
uh,
thought that was a good investment, taking the other one over Tesla.
yeah. So
Yeah.
initially it was, right, but then I didn't know no better
Of course.
until years later when I
Yeah.
finally researched and started learning technical analysis,
Yeah.
where I seen the opportunity that I missed,
For
right?
sure.
So
Hindsight's always 2020. It's pretty crazy to think
absolutely.
about. But it's you said a couple things there. So it sounds like the risk or the time management wasn't very tough because you had downtime in
Hmm.
Afghanistan to be able to learn and like unpack all these things. And another thing that you said was um, not knowing when to take profits. And I think that that is so important nowadays because everybody always tells you to just buy, hold, and keep buying and buy and hold and all that other stuff. Do you think, being in the market longer than I have, because I started, I think, in 2014, 2015, things that
Hmm.
you've seen over time, do you think that we're seeing like this big shift, especially going forward, where active management is more prevalent than passive management, where instead of just buying and holding and selling, especially what happened in 2020, 2021, like you see a straight arrow. So people that are buying these stocks at 400 that don't know any better, like Coinbase, and now it's at 40. It's like they're never really going to recover, man. That's a lot of gains to make up, and that's a huge valuation. So now it's like fair value there. It's an IPO, but even things like Tesla, 480 down to 140. I'm sure it'll come back at some point, but those are some long term waits to get your money back, for that long term holding. Are you seeing any sort of like differences in the market then versus now and where it's going to go in terms of active versus passive management?
Absolutely, right. I think you have to actually actively manage your portfolio, right?
Hmm.
Whether it's reallocating funds or taking some off the top, whatever it might be, you have to actively manage, right? Because even just think, right? Hey, if you buy and hold something for 5 years, your plan is to hold something for 5, 10 years. It's a good thing. But if
Uh-huh.
you look at a company right now like Disney, right? You mentioned coin and stuff like that, but
Hmm.
Disney's a huge company.
Of course.
It in the last 5 years is down 36%,
Yeah.
right? 40%, right? Microsoft, one of the biggest companies in the world, from 2001, it was at $40. It never recovered to $40 again until 2016,
Hmm.
right? So
That's
15
crazy.
years of just downtrend. So if you bought in 2001 before the dot com crash, right, you wouldn't, without reinvesting or in dividends and
Yep.
dripping and so forth and buying more shares, you would have never broke even to 2016. And then obviously it skyrocketed after that.
Yeah.
But you have to actively manage your portfolio because there's going to be times and there's different seasonalities when it comes to trading and so forth. And
Hmm.
to really benefit and compound your account,
Yeah.
it has to be actively managed.
For sure. Especially taking some of those profits, even if you don't want to learn technical analysis or don't really understand it, right? You can somewhat tell, like, okay, maybe I'm up on my investment like you were, right? 100%. It's like, those are pretty great gains. You're not going to get
Yeah.
100% very often, right? So if you're just investing in shares and holding long term, it's kind of like a benefit to you to realize some gains at some point and kind of shift your portfolio money into something else, whether it's something a little bit safer until it comes down, you can buy it back at a cheaper price. Um, in terms of the same topic with passive versus active, do you think it's better to be buying ETFs over these individual stocks? Rather, like maybe more so, you're going to get a less return, obviously, on these ETFs. But in terms of compounding and holding long term, if you're more risk averse, do you think it's better to like start saving up your money? Because I've met quite a few people that just do ETFs, and once you get up to like those 1,000 shares of SPY, which is a lot of money, yeah, 380, $90,000,
Yeah.
but then you introduce selling covered calls on them and you're making 8 to 10K a week off this. So that's great money. Like it seems to be at
Yeah.
that some point you're just holding this ETF that is most likely going to continue up over time, but then you can use other vehicles to, sell covered calls against it or cash secured puts. So do you think it's better to like kind of pile into these ETFs rather than like a Disney because it doesn't take 5 to 6 years for, you know it to be any sort of profitable?
I think it has to be balanced, right? Initially, when if somebody were to first start in and didn't know nothing about the stock market,
Uh-huh.
the safer play is to buy and invest into ETFs,
Hmm.
right? I think there's an evolution to trading and investing, right? I think you have to start off with right indexes and ETFs and so forth, right? And then as you get more knowledgeable and understand technical analysis, then you decrease the timeline, right, from ETFs to stocks, right, to swing trading, to day trading, to obviously scalp trading and options, right,
Yeah.
as well, right. So I think there's a timeline. So as somebody brand new into the market, right, and they don't know what to invest in, I always recommend ETFs over
Yeah.
anything, just because that's a
Safer.
safer play. And then as they start to learn and
Yeah.
develop,
You can move
especially
money around.
technical analysis, exactly, and passive versus active management, like we were talking about,
Uh-huh.
then you could become, instead of passively doing your ETFs, now you could actually manage your shares, right, your
Hmm.
securities, and so forth. So
Yeah.
absolutely, ETFs are a must in any portfolio.
Yeah, that's incredible. So would you say that you are more so kind of allocating stocks individually right now in the market because now that things are super cheap, it seems like, or do you think you're kind of just staying more cash? Are you safer right now? Where how do you feel about the market, especially heading going to mid 2023, end of 2023? Seems to be a little
Uh,
scary time right now.
yeah, I mean, so there's been a lot of opportunities, right? So I stayed dollar cost averaging in shares and ETFs, right?
Yep.
So whether it be VU or VTI, right?
Hmm.
Whether it be QQQs, I don't really do SPY because I just do VU because the net expense ratio is a
Yep.
lot less,
Hmm.
right? So there, as well as shares. Now with shares, obviously there's other opportunities. You have to learn technical analysis, right? If you look at Tesla, what Tesla hit like 144 today,
Hmm.
but 2 3 weeks ago is at 101,
Yeah, that was crazy.
right?
I literally
So
just looked at
there's
that today. I was like, why did I not buy like everything? One
absolutely,
hundred
right.
dollars.
And then you say about 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, Nvidia was at 108, 110, and now it's at 180,
Was
right?
that
So
Nvidia?
yeah, Nvidia,
Oh
right?
man,
So
I just had a killer day trading Nvidia today. I didn't know it was at 108 though. That's crazy.
yeah, if you look at it, about I think 2 months ago, it was at 108, right? Because
Uh,
back in November, everything was dropping so
for
much.
sure.
Late November, early December, well, all year last year. But there was a huge downfall leading into the elections, where a lot of stocks were just selling off, and
Hmm.
then into the tax harvesting season in
For
in
sure.
in December, right? So
Uh,
huge sell off. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and you just have to learn and find those opportunities, right? So whether you're searching through ETFs, whether you're searching through FinViz, TradingView, whatever platform it is that you do your research, Sector Spider, whatever it is, and then find the opportunities once you learn technical analysis,
mhm.
and then invest in either your ETFs or your actual stocks when those opportunities arise.
For sure. Is it, so? Do
So
you think? Are you think? Where do you think the economy is going to be heading? You think it's we're in trouble with all the layoffs happening? Do you think we kind of priced it in the market and we saw the worst of it, or what are your thoughts?
so personally, I think we've seen majority of the worst of it. I
Hmm.
think we still might get one more drop
Hmm.
before a full recovery. I don't think even if it drops again, if we even get back down to that 3,500 level or the S&P, right, it won't go too much lower underneath that,
Hmm.
right? So that's my own personal opinion, because with the layoffs, and then the housing is still gonna come down. So that's why I think we're gonna get a potentially another drop before a full recovery.
For sure. Yeah, and then I think that a lot of people don't understand that inflation is coming down right now, so that
Yeah.
looks bullish. But we enter into a state called deflation, right? So deflation
Hmm.
is pretty tough to the economy too, and that's when you start seeing people get laid off more outside of tech. It's more like the factory workers, distribution centers, all that type of stuff, because it costs more for people to produce these products rather than consume them. So it kind of like will give us a little bit more hardships on getting different products. So it's still a shit show out there, and I feel like people are trying to think that it's all good and because of some of the numbers that are releasing, but I think that the news is kind of skewing some of these things that they're releasing to make it not be like this panic drop. But I don't know, man. I think I'm on the same wavelength as you. Is we got one more drop before something else, um, any sort of bull market run can happen. I think maybe end of 2023 potentially we start to see that turn. I would love to see that below like 330 ish in the SPY, 320 ish in the SPY, because I feel like that's just like a golden opportunity for all of us,
Oh
you know.
yeah,
To so
yeah.
we'll see. I
Because
don't
I
think we're out of the doghouse just yet.
Yeah, I mean, because if you really look at it, even I think the S&P 500 was around 320, 330 before the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think it
right.
was
So
330. Yeah.
yeah, around 330, right? So, I mean, that's why I said if we get back down to the 3,500 level, it might not have too much further below that, but I definitely see if we do get down there, absolutely, right? It's a
Yeah.
huge opportunity, just like it was a couple months ago when it was down at well, like 34.80, right? So
For sure.
I think it was the lowest that it got to. Um, but yeah, huge opportunities all around, and that's when
Big
you
time.
need to take advantage of it. But until then, absolutely right. And that's what I was talking about as far as your my day trading, and then the profits I make, I divvy up those profits, right? So my 100% profits, like I said, maybe 50% go to dividends, 30% go to this
Mm-hmm.
investment, 20% or whatever goes to cash, right? So this way I have cash on case needs be, right? So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people forget cash is a position, so you have to have cash ready and available, and then
Always.
the amount of cash that you should have. What a lot of people really don't think about also is depend upon how well the market's doing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if the market is doing extremely high, extremely well, you should probably be cash heavy.
For sure.
If the market is sinking, you should probably be low on cash because you're buying so much.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
perspective.
Wait for the turnaround. Yeah. The
Absolutely.
buy low, sell high.
Yeah.
The typical market analogy. But so a lot on the market and everything. But tell us a little bit about you're also into to fitness, right? I see your fitness. You're always up on the grind early in the morning. Marines, obviously. Is there any? Would tell us a little bit about the fitness journey you got going on. Is so you got options trading, you got fitness. You're a Marine. Is there anything else you got going on over there, or is fitness like another one of your big passions outside of trading?
No, I mean fitness is just something I feel like I need to do just because I'm older, right? Being a Marine, and
Mm-hmm.
then also have plenty of kids, right? So I got 4 kids that stay active.
Uh,
2 of them are actually in college, but the other 2 still keep me busy, right? So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, Marines, fitness, obviously trading. I love teaching, um, right? But yeah, the physical fitness is like my time, kind
Mm-hmm.
of
Just to
to
decompress a little bit.
exactly
Yeah.
decompress, go out there, get some sweat in,
Yeah.
right? Release some endorphins or whatever it might be, and
Yeah.
just feel a good pump.
For
So
sure. I mean, that's just as important as anything else, right? Whether it's trading or whatever career you're in, you need to have those workout days or just something where you can just like be your like in your own space because you can. It's pretty toxic, you know. Like sometimes when you're like in a bad rut trading or in a bad rut at work, I feel like you need those at least a little bit of time for yourself to
yeah,
feel like everything's free enough so you can continue, you know, moving forward. But you said you like to teach, and I noticed this all over social media that you do host a lot of classes and stuff for stock trading technical analysis. Can you walk us through a little bit about what you got going on with that?
yeah. So actually, right now, since the beginning of the new year, I've been doing an options series, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of all about options because a lot of people want to learn but don't know how to learn, right? So I've been doing some free live classes every week on my YouTube channel.
Oh wow.
I started with the first week of January. My first class was just basically what are options, right?
Okay.
So that was the first week. The following week after that is introduction to the options chain and how to read it, right? And look for contracts that you're one of the most important things to look for, right?
Of course.
How volume and open interest and choose an expiration date and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Follow that up with last week I did Greeks and implied volatility, right?
Okay.
So
So segmenting
um,
it in, like kind of like bringing somebody that's not really, you know, the best at options trading who just wants to learn it. You're kind of just like teaching them from step one to step,
yep,
you know, Z, I guess, if you will.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then this week I'm actually doing it on um, rolling contracts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So uh, just because I'm doing the evolution, right? So rolling contracts this week, next week we'll get to cover calls, then we'll get to cash secure puts, and then those 3 classes all combined to develop what's called the wheel strategy,
Hmm.
and that's going to be like here in like 4 weeks from now.
Oh wow.
And then from there, just continue teaching different strategies, right? Straddles, strangles,
Yeah.
and really what they are and the opportunities and advantages of trading them, right? Because a lot of people think that options are just buying calls and puts, right?
Hmm. Of course.
While that is the highest reward potential, that's also the highest risk
Of
that's
course.
out
Yeah.
there. So a lot of people don't know about the opportunities of selling calls, right?
Uh-huh.
Selling puts, making money off of their securities that they already own with the cover calls, right? So not only can you do passive income with your dividends, but if
Hmm.
you own a lot of shares, just like you said before, right? As far as SPY and right SPY, when people have the 1,000 shares of it, and now they could sell cover calls and make that $18,000 a week,
Yeah.
and just kind of live off that, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you could continue to build like an income base salary, right? Through selling some positions or selling cover calls and have that low low risk, low reward, right?
But consistent, right? So.
But consistent trading, and that's what you want to do as an actual trader.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So these classes, are you ever gonna like repeat? So like once you get to a certain situation, are you gonna be okay? So now what are options? So that's almost like the next funnel that people can come in. Is it like cycles? Is it by month? Is it by quarter? How is it laid out?
Yeah. So right now, like I said, it's just kind of laid out step one through Z,
Hmm.
right? And then I'll probably repeat through the different strategies,
Okay.
right? Just because the basics of what are options, Greeks, the option chain and so forth, and probably even rolling contracts
Uh-huh.
is going to be saved, right?
Okay.
But after that, the live classes are just going to be there. So I'll repeat those over and over again because
Amazing.
obviously people are going to come in and find me later on, but still want to learn the opportunity or different strategies that
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, hell yeah. Tons of value on your channel. And so you got the YouTube channel, you got the Instagram channel. Are you on TikTok, Twitter? Where can
Yeah,
people find you to connect?
all of right. So I got my YouTube channel. I got Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I'm not on TikTok really too much, but
It's a pretty tough
Twitter I've been
platform.
posting. Yeah, Twitter I've been posting a little bit more.
Mhm.
Definitely getting in YouTube more actively, and always engaged on Instagram. So
Yeah, hell yeah. So that these are all at Manuel's official, Mane or NU. Can you spell for us?
yes, so my Instagram and TikTok is at Manuel S official. For some reason, Twitter was already taken by somebody else, so
Oh man.
that one is at Manuel underscore S underscore official, right?
Mhm.
And then my Instagram is Manuel S official trading and investing.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got a ton of knowledge on there. Your pages are great. I've been following you for a while, and I know you're going to
Appreciate it.
continue
Thank
to
you.
crush it out there and provide as much value as possible. So I just want everybody to give this man a follow. Give him a shout. He's very helpful. He's a great guy. But you know the ins and outs of the market, whether it's dividends, stocks, everything. So you're a one-stop shop. So people need to reach out for that value, and you obviously offer a lot of it for free. So definitely a great connection to have. So you talked to us a little bit about your story in Afghanistan. You were deployed there. You're a Marine. Um, you're into fitness. You're all over the stock market. You know just about everything. Everything that I'm thinking, you're saying the same thing. So you're a great resource to have. But tell us what you got going on. Like what's the mission, the goal for 2023, or what's your next move to continue to have the success that you've had throughout your life? And is there anything you're working on? Kind of plug us into what you got going on.
Yeah. So the biggest thing right now is my next move is right through basically teaching, right? Just go ahead and bring out the situational awareness and the awareness of options
Mm-hmm.
and technical analysis. And when you combine the two, learning different strategies that could benefit each person, right? Because every person is not going to be able to have time to day trade or scalp
Of
trade and so
course.
forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's other strategies that you could do, right? Um, yeah, I have a little bit more experience, but that's really what I want to do. Just the awareness and bring it out to everybody. The other thing I want to look into is in person's kind of teaching and seminars and charting and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Bring people together. I don't really necessarily have a community too much, but
Uh huh.
I want to have bringing multiple communities together and have a big platform where people could look for other people for advice, right?
Yeah.
Because that was one thing I felt like I lacked and I didn't have
Hmm.
learning, and it took me a long time to learn. But with so many different communities out there, right? There's a huge resource out there,
Of
right,
course.
for people to learn from, that could speed up the learning curve, right?
Hmm.
A
Yeah.
lot of people don't
Exactly.
know about. A lot of people lack um, financial knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've been doing also, kind of like in the military wise, is
Yeah.
I teach military members for free, right? So any
Hell
active
yeah.
duty military or service member, I go through and I teach them, not trying to sell myself or anything, but I
Yeah.
want to give them awareness because a lot of them don't know because they jump in the military at 18,
Young
19,
age. Yeah.
20 years old, never really had a consistent job, paycheck, and they still live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
So that financial awareness and education, I want to kind of bring to awareness
Hell yeah, man. That's
to a lot of
powerful.
people.
That's powerful. That's value in itself, and just taking all the knowledge you've accumulated over the years to be able to give back like that. I'm sure that's such a great feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's
Absolutely
that's
is.
that's great, man. You're a wealth of knowledge. You're a gem to know. You're a gem to come across on social media. So I hope everybody takes advantage of that. You're saying stuff about in-person seminars and stuff. I've been also thinking about doing something like that. So maybe some way we could collaborate or connect together on doing something like that. Maybe organize a conference for everybody to come to, and provide as much
Absolutely.
value as possible. So many things to look forward to in the future. It looks like you're crushing it, and it's really good to connect with you again. I really appreciate your time coming on the show today, Manuel. You're great. Give this man a follow. He's incredible, and he won't disappoint you. That's for sure. There's so much to know about the market. The market is a cash cow. It's not scary. You have people like Manuel here to give you the best value for free potentially. So you never know. Connect with the man. He's great. Thanks for coming on, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, man.